For thousands of years, mankind has questioned the existence of extraterrestrial life in our universe.
Sooner or later, we're going to see some kind of signs of extraterrestrial life. We need to prepare.
The chances that aliens exist in some form is highly probable.
I think it's entirely likely that there's intelligent life somewhere in the universe.
Today, astronomers are already sending messages into space. But what if these messages are perceived as threats, and aliens believe humans are the enemy?
If they arrived as conquerors, it could be the end of planet Earth as we know it.
Is an invasion inevitable?
It's an alien attack.
It would be like Godzilla meeting Bambi. I think there's almost 100% chance that there are alien forms of life in the universe other than our own.
If extraterrestrials exist, they would come from the far edges of the universe. Their vast spacecrafts may already be en route to our world, and there is no way to know when they will arrive. Many think that this scenario is possible, including researcher Nick Pope, who has worked with the British Ministry of Defense to investigate UFO sightings.
There's no reason why intelligent extraterrestrials couldn't already have started their journey. It could be a year's time, it could be a month, it could be a week, they could arrive later today.
There's no way to determine whether they would come in peace or what their intentions would be. Extraterrestrial contact with our planet would change life as we know it. Nothing would ever be the same.
Tu dis quoi?
Ah, surprise!
The arrival of extraterrestrials could mean extinction for the human race. It's impossible to know exactly what would happen, but scientist Ben Moore thinks it comes down to two basic principles.
If alien life came here, they would be coming because they were curious or because they were unfriendly.
Our Earth is just a mere speck in a massive universe. Statistically, scientists believe that this may mean that there could be millions of other civilizations like ours out there. The Earth orbits the Sun, just like 7 other planets. But our Sun is not unique. It is only one of more than 100 other billion bright stars in our galaxy, the Milky Way. And even the Milky Way is just one of 1 trillion more galaxies.
The universe is a very big place, and if you're talking something on the order of 1 trillion galaxies, each with 500 billion stars, it seems like a fairly silly notion to imagine that we're alone in the cosmos.
Some of you, ladies and gentlemen, have laid question to the many hours that I've spent disclosing the hidden religion of the mystery schools, the great brotherhoods, that full body of adepts known as the Illuminati. Why are you doing this? What has this got to do with what's happening in the world today? Ladies and gentlemen, everything revolves around religion and race. Just as it has for the thousands of years that man has lived upon this earth. At one time, in the dim recesses of the ancient history of man, there was but one religion upon this earth, practiced by all men everywhere. It was the religion of the cosmos, the cosmology of the heavens. That is the heart and soul of the ancient pagan religions, which ultimately bore a philosophy which combined with science.
When I first made the correlations between Kabbalah and science, I was stunned.
We do know that Isaac Newton had access to certain mystical texts, certain texts of the Kabbalah.
Well, the Kabbalistic description of creation is coming from a single little point, from a speck, and of having matter form and time and space form all together at the very beginning. This sounds very much to me like the description of the Big Bang.
I couldn't believe that the Kabbalists could derive these truths without really knowing any mathematics or physics.
Became the secret hidden religion of the ancient brotherhood. And it doesn't matter what you call it, Sabacius, Eusebius, Dionysius, Freemasonry.
At 11, Mom and Dad got divorced, and when my dad left, I exploded, and my mom couldn't handle me, so she put me into a place called the Masonic Homes.
The Assassins, the Knights Templar.
You know, one of the things I've been the most attacked for is being a part of being a knight of the Knights of Malta, the Order of St. John, which I am one. I'm very proud to be.
All of these orders practice, and still practice to this day, this hidden mystery religion. And it is the philosophy of this mystery religion that guides the agenda of the power that is directing world events today. But there are other means of linking this together so that you can see it in action, ladies and gentlemen. In action. Played out before your eyes in a drama, a stage play for the great numbers of people on this earth to keep their gaze fixed, to keep them hypnotized, to provide a great, gigantic welfare project on the scale of the ancient pyramid building. And the ultimate goal is to make the earth look very small, to present the people of the world with an external threat to this earth, a superior race from some other planet, vastly superior to us in intellect, philosophy, and technology.
In our obsession with antagonisms of the moment, we often forget how much unites all the members of humanity. Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
In order to cause the dissolution of nation states, the dissolution of all existing religions, and the formation of the world totalitarian socialist government, NASA is one of the main instruments of this deception. And if you study NASA from its beginning all the way up to the present day, and if you are a student of the ancient mystery religions of antiquity, you will see parallels and anniversary dates that coincide sometimes to the moment. You will see events that take place here on Earth, on the Moon, on the Mars, and around other planets on the exact same latitude and longitudinal points on those planets where certain things have taken place here in the past and take place now in the present. If you studied the Apollo space program, you must have noticed the reference to the ancient gods Apollo. If you studied the emblem of the Apollo space program, especially the first emblem, ladies and gentlemen, you noticed that it carried on its crest the symbol of Apollo, who was the sun, also known as Osiris, the moon, Isis. In the center, you will see the constellation of Orion. In its center are arrayed in the exact position the three pyramids of Giza in Egypt. And the earth, of course, represents the full body of initiates known as Horus. You will notice that the spacecraft that left this earth and suffered the symbolic death and the resurrection from the ashes was Apollo 13. 13 being the number of death and resurrection, the number of the phoenix rising from the ashes. Oh yes, ladies and gentlemen. Oh yes. And now we have a man named Richard Hoagland, who knows that most of the NASA photographs and videotapes have been faked. This has been brought to his attention by many of us. He has ignored this obvious evidence and continues to use as the only evidence in his possession for the existence of life on other planets, NASA photographs. If one has been proven to be faked, then they are all in question, ladies and gentlemen. But so many have been proven to be faked that none of them can ever be used as evidence for anything. So what is this all about? Well, ladies and gentlemen, they could not present us with a believable external threat to this earth in the form of an extraterrestrial intelligence vastly superior to us if we, in our technological development, could not even visit our own satellite. So one reason was to convince the people of the world that we could travel to the moon, and if we could travel to the moon, other intelligent life from elsewhere in this solar system or the universe could travel to this earth. For this is an old plan of the Illuminati. John Dewey said at a dinner for Viscount Ishii and the Japanese Imperial delegation in 1917 in New York City, and the exact quote is in my book, Behold a Pale Horse, in the appendix. I wrote the book the latter 5 years of the 80s and published it in 1991, actually December of 1990, but they didn't think that it was going to come off the presses until January of 1991, so the copyright date inside is 1991. But it doesn't matter, it's just a month. John Dewey said, "Someone once told me that the best way to end wars forever and unite all humanity on this earth in a world government would be if we were attacked by some other species from some other planet." That's what he said, ladies and gentlemen, in 1917, and that's at least how old this hypothesis is. Or I should say, this plan to deceive the world. It was tested in 1938 with the broadcast of Orson Welles and the Mercury Theater's War of the Worlds to present a hoax to find out if it was believable, if the populace would fall for it, and they did. In all of the towns and cities that heard this broadcast, people were terrified. They went outside with shotguns and rifles to look for the alien tripods so that they could shoot them before they destroyed their cities and their families and their industries. In one city, Grover's Mill, they literally, ladies and gentlemen, the citizenry forgot the geography and the construction of their own city, and they shot their own water tower to pieces, thinking that it was one of these giant tripods. In New York City, the next morning, the stock market fell precipitously. Some people committed suicide. It was a night of terror. And Congress passed a law making it illegal to do that. Again, on radio. So this is not something that I just dreamed up out of the blue, ladies and gentlemen. It is a true agenda. It is happening. It is being brought about by the Illuminati, and in their typical fashion, they laugh at us. And they use their symbology of the mystery religions, anniversary dates, geological points, and locations of monuments that are meaningful to them in all of this. There's a photograph in the House of Temple, the House of the Temple of the Supreme Council of the 33rd degree of the Scottish Rite of the Southern Jurisdiction of Freemasonry in Washington, D.C. In the foyer, as you walk in, you will see a huge photograph of Neil Armstrong on the moon, holding in front of his spacesuit the Masonic apron. At the time of the Apollo space program, ladies and gentlemen, the head of NASA was a Mr. Kleindienst. It was a reward for his deception on the world. He was, ladies and gentlemen, promoted to the Supreme Grand Inspector General of the 33rd degree of the Southern Jurisdiction of the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. He holds that post today. Everything that NASA did was connected to the symbology of the ancient mystery religions of Babylon, Egypt, Greece, India, and many others. For the thrust of this is to destroy religion, and in specific the Christian religion, and any other religion that believes that man was created here on this earth by God. For they're going to say that these Martians created us by interbreeding with backward, unevolved animals here on this earth. And they're going to point to the place in Genesis where it talks about the Nephilim, or the gods interbreeding with people here on this earth, produced a race of giants and other things undiscussed. Did you know that Jack Parsons, one of the founder of the Jet Propulsion Laboratory of the California Institute of Technology, was a high-level member of the Order of the Golden Dawn? Did you know that most of the scientists at the Jet Propulsion Lab were also members? Did you know that all of these people held birthday parties each year on the anniversary of the birthday of Aleister Crowley, one of the most highly degreed adepts of the Illuminati, who practiced black magic and claimed that he was the Antichrist? Did you know that Jacques Vallée, one of the so-called premier scientists who are objectively looking at the UFO question, used to attend those meetings also? We have a photograph of Jacques Vallée sitting partly in light, partly in darkness, with his hand arranged around his eye so that his eye is in a triangle formed by his fingers. An inverted triangle. Those of you who have listened to my broadcast on symbology understand the significance of that. He was laughing at you. And at the same time, he was revealing his true identity to his brothers. At the highest levels of the fraternal organizations. All of these organizations, ladies and gentlemen, including the highest levels of the bureaucracy, of all of the different agencies of government, are in the hands of the Illuminati today. They are socialists. Their ultimate goal is a world much like Hitler envisioned. And Hitler pulled the same cons, ladies and gentlemen. You see, the New Age is not new. There was a New Age before this New Age, back in the 30s, which rose to prominence with Hitler. All of the SS officers had to prove, I forget how many exact generations of pure Aryan blood, but they had to prove that. Then they were shipped off to a castle replete with the trappings of the mystery religion, where they were indoctrinated into the order of the Illuminati. What is happening today, ladies and gentlemen, is very much the same thing that happened in Nazi Germany. The New World Order is going to be more like what Hitler envisioned than anything that Karl Marx ever dreamed about. Although Karl Marx was also a socialist. Karl Marx was a rabid racist. He was a Jew-hating Jew. He hated Jews and blacks and anybody else. In his writings, he made no secret that he was a racist, that socialism breeds racism. And I look around and I see all of these people, these blacks, Hispanics, Asians, all of these people who buy into the myth that socialism is going to liberate them. Socialism is going to re-enslave them. And it breaks my heart to work so hard to keep them free, only to see them working so hard to chain themselves once again. Did you know that Jesse Jackson is a Freemason? This man who claims that he abhors racism belongs to the Prince Hall Lodge, to an order that does not allow black men in the white lodges of Freemasonry, and has not in its history up until today, where a few, very select few token blacks have been allowed in a very few select lodges in order to say to the world, see, we're not racist. And the blacks have their own lodges called the Prince Hall Lodges. And the Jews have their own lodge called B'nai B'rith. And the Orientals have their own lodges called the Triads. All of the same order, ladies and gentlemen. All putting forth the myth that they're going to create a world where all people can get along and live together, and there will be no racism, and no enslavement, and no muggings, and no robbings. The space program is one of the methods that they are using to bring this about.